Good morning. Welcome to my channel. My name is Kelly Bowker. I am a channel, a medium, and a light language worker. Today is Mother's Day, and I'm going to be honest and tell you that I had absolutely no intention of doing any videos today. I was cooking myself a lobster for breakfast and doing my thing, but I want to share how spirit works sometimes in giving you the breadcrumbs and leading you to do something. So I'm just puttering around this morning doing my thing, and a woman dropped into my mind that I did a session with probably a month or 6 weeks ago. And it just dropped into my mind, and I thought, oh yeah, I've got that video. I downloaded that video onto my computer, but she talked a lot through it. We talked back and forth, and every time my person talks, the video changes to their face. So I can't use it because of course, I can't put people out without their permission. So I had never used it, but it was a really, really good session. Well, since then, I've learned how to edit my videos and to be able to remove those faces. So that just drops into my head this morning. Geez, you know how to do that now. You could post some of that video. I'm thinking, yeah, okay, that's true. I'm puttering around and I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of bored, just getting nudges. I think I'll just see if I can find it, because I've got tons of stuff downloaded. So I'd have had to hunt. It's just numbers. I don't label anything. So I'm thinking it's going to take me a week to find it. The very first thing that I click on was her video. That's when I went, I start listening to the video, and I realize very quickly that a lot of it is about her mom. And her mom had mental illness, and her mom ended up committing suicide. And the effect that this had on this beautiful, beautiful soul, this beautiful woman in her development, and the effect that it had on her inner child. So in this video that I'm going to, hopefully, if I can figure the technology out, connect this introduction to, we talk about what happens when we die, what happens when you die when you have committed suicide. It's a very difficult subject, I know, but I have brought through people who've committed suicide, several, and so there's some truths that I know, and I want to share them because I know that we have a lot of preconceived ideas around this very, very difficult subject, and trainings that have been put in our minds over the decades. So I just wanted to give you warning that that is what this video is about, but that we also go on to talk about how to talk to your inner child and how to heal these kinds of things that happen. And I give some pretty good examples, and I actually talk through some of that. And I know that that can be helpful to people. So this has a lot of answers on dealing with this difficult subject and some very good strategies to heal your inner child. So I hope that it can be a blessing to your heart. And if it is, please subscribe. I'm really appreciating all of you. And don't hesitate to post questions in the comment section. And if I see them, which I typically do, I will do a video to answer your questions if I can. So have a blessed Mother's Day. Motherhood is hard. God bless us all. We're all doing the very best we can. And so have all the mothers that went before us. So blessings. Yeah, we're on the right track because I'm feeling the energy. I'm feeling it all through me. So I know that this is a message they want you to hear from me. And so when a person passes away, we evolve on the other side in the same way that we evolve on this side. And according to how much work you do as a human in the incarnation that you're in, so this is an incarnation, right? We are a little tiny fractal of the whole that is our soul, which is a little tiny fractal of the whole that is the all, right? God, whatever you want to call it. So we're like a little tiny drop of water. This personality is a little drop of water. And if you were to think, Suzanne Giesemann, her guides gave a beautiful explanation of, think about creation or God. Let's just use God because it's easy. You know what I'm talking about. As the ocean. And a wave in the ocean is one wave is our whole soul. We're one wave. And this personality is one drop of water in that whole wave that's in the ocean. Think about how many drops of water there are. So when we talk about the personality, when we talk about your mom in the personality that was this incarnation on this earth, we're talking about a very tiny, tiny part of her, just a tiny part. But that said, that part made agreements before it came to this earth, agreements probably with you, with your father, with any siblings that you had. You all agreed that there were life lessons that you were going to learn because of her depression, and that she signed up for, and that she would likely commit suicide because of the depression. Her extended family and all of her friends loved you all enough to lower her vibration to the point of coming forward and expressing herself with the chemical imbalance in her brain that makes depression. She did that out of love, pure, beautiful, angelic, positive love. And then she lowered and lowered and lowered her vibration to have the incarnation that had all of the shit that she dealt with and all of the burdens that she had. And so that said, when that part of her, that aspect of her crosses over, she was met by pure positive love, not a question. She was met by loved ones and guides and angels and all kinds of beings of light that surrounded her where she, at the frequency that she crossed over. So one of the visuals they've given me is like school. You got kindergarten, and you understand kindergarten is the very starting out. And she would have to, because I have brought through souls who have crossed over at that level for many reasons, not just suicide. And I can feel there is a little bit of angst on their side. There's a little bit of, they know that there's work to do that they have to do. And until they can face everything that they did, they're going to stay at the kindergarten level, but they are surrounded by love, waiting. And remember, there's no time. There's no time on the other side. It's all instantaneous. She is having whatever her evolving time until she can see her life review, see the effect that her actions had on all the people around her, assimilate that into her soul, into her energy, and then she will take that back to her oversoul. That is my understanding. And you don't need, she is absolutely fine. I got an incredible download once that just about knocked me off the bed that I was meditating on. But one of the big pieces that they brought to me was that every time when a soul is connected, so you have a human being connected to you on a soul level on this earth, so I bet have experienced soul sisters and friendships that are like so far beyond what you can understand. I get that all the time. When you have that connection and one of you passes away, every time that you on this side of the veil lift them up, feel that love and connection, see them perfectly joyous, dancing with the angels, just raise that vibration and just shower her with love, that is absolutely facilitating her growth on that side.
Yeah.
When we can part the curtain of our grief and connect to that beautiful love, that facilitates them on the other side. And she's probably very much, I'm not reaching out to her, but I don't know. We'll see if we feel like we want to. I'm not feeling pushed to do that. My guides dropped into my mind inner child work. At the very beginning, I didn't know what you wanted. They dropped into my mind inner child work. The reason that is so important that we learn the techniques that we can learn to heal that inner child and create a relationship, a day-to-day relationship with our inner child, is because that inner child is still affecting your day-to-day decisions. And you're precious. You are so open and you have such a beautiful, wide open energy. I'm going to say very similar to mine. And so I'm sure you're an empath, and an empathic child is soaking up like a fucking sponge. Excuse my language, but this is Kelly, but just soaking every bit of your mom's, and she couldn't control it. It was a disease. Her brain was wired differently and she couldn't control it. And so you're inside absorbing it all, saying, this is all because of me. If I act this way, mama is okay. If I act that way, mama's not. It's all my responsibility. It's all on my shoulders. It's all me, all me, all me. And that needs to be addressed, babe. That needs to be addressed. Would you like me to share the process that I've developed around that?
Is there?
Yes, the
Maybe.
joy, the awe, all of that side of ourselves, that is our inner child, but it's also the side that gives us that jolt in our stomach when somebody says blah, 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 and we get that little feeling of anxiety and we're like in our head going, why are we feeling upset? There's nothing to be upset about. That's the inner child in there being afraid. You will find out things about yourself that are just incredible. It was right around Christmas time. So, I mean, I'm well into my awakening. I'm channeling the guides all the time. I'm doing mediumship stuff, blah, blah, blah. And I got an opportunity to go visit a friend that I'd never visited in person before, staying at a place I'd never been, and my Michael not going with me. I'd have to drive about 2 hours to get there. I hate to drive. So all of these things, I had all this anxiety. But I don't want, as we shared in the beginning, I don't want my world to get smaller and smaller as I age. I want to get braver and braver. I want to expand. I want to embrace the world. I don't want to get small. Well, my husband, we've been married forever. I was 18 when we got married, and he certainly is a caretaker and he makes sure that I'm safe and okay. And he got very anxious at the idea of me going to this place with people I didn't really know that well. And he got some anxiety. I immediately said, all right, I'm not going to go then. I'm just not going to go, because I was having to battle in my head already to make myself go. Now he's worried. So I'm like, all right, frig it. I'm just not going to go. I start to cry. I come out and I say to my husband, I'm crying, and I say, I don't want to live my life from fear. I want to live my life from joy. And we had a great talk, and he said, you're fine. You should go, blah, blah, blah. But still, I had that Kelly anxiety. I went into meditation. I put my phone on my chest alone, and I said to my little girl, tell me, why are we afraid? What is holding us back from being joyful on this wonderful adventure that we are going to go on? What is making us afraid? And she said, what if I'm hungry? What if I'm cold? But it went back to my mother taking me to babysitters that didn't always have enough food. I was not always comfortable. I was not always safe feeling inside. I was safe, but there was oftentimes not an abundance of food the way I was used to having it be at home. And I was scared. So adult Kelly talked to child Kelly and said, you know what, baby doll, I'm a grown-ass woman, and I will make sure there's enough gas in the car that if we want to leave, we can. I will bring our own snacks so we have plenty of food. I'll make sure that there's warm clothes in the car. So if we have to leave, if they make us uncomfortable and we have to leave, we will wrap right up in a blanket and be okay. I said, we are going to be okay. And once we had that talk, the anxiety lifted and I had a beautiful time. So the process is this. You're going through your day and you get a little bump. It's called a trigger. Don't wait until you get a trigger that makes you lose your shit and you're screaming and hollering. Those are triggers too, but that I'm talking, you can address those big ones too. But let's talk about a typical day when all of a sudden something just gives you that in your stomach or in your chest and you feel off. And it's like, what the frig? Why is that anxiety? What am I feeling? I'm feeling off. Something's not right. think about what's caused it. Like I remember one of mine that I cleaned up was my boss. Before I retired, my boss called my classroom and said, will you swing by my office before you go home? And I got whoosh, all this anxiety. Like I've done something wrong. I hadn't done anything wrong. He didn't, and it was nothing. He just wanted to talk to me about something, but I get all this anxiety. So on the way home, I talked to my little girl. She was afraid that she'd been bad. It's not bad, and that I'm always there taking care of her, and she doesn't need to be afraid of that. Then when you're by yourself and you have time, sit in that space of adult. And you say to her, it's good if you can have a picture from childhood so you can really get a visual in your mind of what you look like when you were little, like 4 or 5 in there somewhere. Picture that little girl and you say to her, it seems to me like you're not feeling right. Something's the matter, isn't it? There's something going on. And then allow yourself, I know it sounds weird and hokey, but allow yourself to be the child and be like, yeah, I feel nervous. I feel scared. And then the adult says, why do you feel scared, honey? Tell me why you feel scared. Well, what if he gets mad at me? I'm thinking of the boss calling me. What if he gets mad at me? What if he yells? Oh, yelling makes you nervous. Yes, yelling makes me nervous. Well, why do you think yelling makes you nervous, honey? And then I got right to it because daddy yelled all the fucking time. And that, my actions, my mama used to say, smile pretty and bat your eyes and daddy will be okay. You know, smile pretty. So what does that mean to a little girl? It's about my looks. It's about how I act. And that's going to make daddy okay when daddy just should have been friggin' okay because he was a grown up and I wasn't, right? So then I always say to people when I teach them this, don't automatically take her on your lap, invite her onto your lap. And you'll know there might be times when she wants to fold her little arms because I got made to sit on some laps and that I was uncomfortable with. So sometimes she wants to just stand there and I love her. And I, just like you would talk to a child, honey, you just talk to her and you reassure her, you validate her, you see her, and you tell her she's perfect just as she is, and that these things were not her responsibility, they were not her fault, and she's beautiful and precious just for being alive, and that you love her so much, and you want her to play and be joyful and have fun, and that she doesn't have to worry about stuff because you're right here taking care of shit, and that you'll make sure that it is dealt with and she's safe until you don't have to very often. And even with me, I still do sometimes. The thing, my counselor, when this training started, when I was doing my counselor, I don't think you've read my book, or I don't know if but when I had the counseling, she said, because, you know, I'm a pretty forthright person. So I'd bring my little girl up and I'd wrap us in my Grammy quilt, my quilt that my mother made us, in my mind, just wrap her up and snuggle her, and I'd rock because she likes to rock. And I would be rocking her, and I would say, honey, she might say, well, I'm afraid. And I'd say, well, honey, you don't need to be afraid. And my counselor said, no, she said, no, validate her fear. Talking, oh, I understand. Anybody would feel afraid. Anyone would feel afraid if a big, strong man came into the house and slammed the door and hollered. And oh my goodness, that must have been terrible. But you know, honey, nothing like that's going to happen today. Nothing like that's going to happen today because I'm not going to let it. Anybody starts hollering around us today, we're going to get out of Dodge. You know, I mean, and that's how you talk. And that is so healing. It is so healing.